Welcome to the Focal Insights Podcast Founder Hour edition, hosted by co-founder Joe Pawlak. Joe has been in the e-commerce industry for over 25 years. He grew and bootstrapped his own startup to a successful exit. Founder Hour episodes go behind the scenes to learn how some of the best e-commerce brands were founded, grown, and operated straight from the founders themselves. Founder Hour is brought to you by Focal Software, a new generation ERP and operation suite for e-commerce brands and third-party marketplace sellers. Focal was built with SMB brands and marketplace sellers in mind to help them grow profitably. Now let's welcome our host, Joe Pawlak.
Hello and welcome to the Focal eCommerce Insights podcast, where we chat with e-commerce entrepreneurs about business, selling online, and how to overcome challenges for success. Joining us today is the founder of Benedicte de Boysson Jewelry, Benedicte de Boysson.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you. Benedicte has a degree in hospitality management from EHL in Lausanne, Switzerland. She was the previous owner of a luxury consultant company based in Dubai. As a solo entrepreneur, she created her own luxury jewelry brand in 2018. She was born in Tahiti and has lived all over the world, speaks 4 languages, and currently lives in Miami, Florida. Benedicte, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, of course. Okay, so I always start these podcasts with getting your motivation for why you got into business, or if you wanted to be a business owner, if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, if you always knew it from when you were young, did something happen in your life that changed? Why don't you go ahead and give us that story, how you took that journey and got from where you are to where you are today.
Of course. So I think it was a calling from very young. I've always wanted to have my own company. I just didn't know how, when, and it will happen. But it was really a calling that was inside me. And I think in my perception, you don't become an entrepreneur, you are an entrepreneur. So it's really in your DNA and it's something stronger than you. And I didn't care about the risk. I didn't think it through. It's just life brought me slowly into what I'm doing today. And it's a challenging but fantastic journey.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, that you're born an entrepreneur, and you don't many people don't think about the process to do it, the risks in doing it, the challenges that you might face. They just set about to do it and figure, we'll figure it out.
I think it's one of the key to the success, because if you overthink this, you will never make it happen, So it's kind of, you need to be a little bit naive, a little bit cuckoo, if I can say it, because this is how you can change the world, in brackets, I mean, at your level, and things, you can inspire people, you can be creative, and being an entrepreneur is a journey, is a life path. It's a journey that keeps you evolving, and you need some strengths, you need some faith, and you need some passion.
And I think you used the word resilience as well.
Yes. This is something you learn along the way,
Yeah. And I know that you've lived all over the world. You mentioned France, Russia, you were born in Tahiti. So how did that play into maybe some experience that you brought, or different viewpoints that you brought to your jewelry business? I would imagine it certainly influenced the design itself, but how about culturally, business speaking? How did that help you?
So I think the fact that I traveled so much, and I did more than traveling, because I lived in those different countries, it inspired me first for creativity, for my design in the luxury business, especially with the jewelry, but also, and now I'm just thinking about it, it's just that, when you arrive to a new country, when you settle down in a new country, you don't know anybody, you don't know anything. So it's kind of a part of my journey where it kind of helped me build, the strengths behind to really come to the US. I had no idea how to do a business in the US. And, it's a business that is quite challenging because you need stock. Whereas when I had my consultancy business, it was more advices. And so you don't have the same way of managing the business. So I think the fact that I really traveled in different countries and lived in them, facing the challenges of the language, the challenges of the different cultures. And I think it kind of built me up for the risk, built me up for the strengths and the resilience, as we called it,
Yeah.
to run a business. Yeah.
Yeah, and you touched on, used the word challenges, and there's always a lot of those.
Yes.
And you have a little bit of a unique one too, because you have to have stock, you have to have inventory, you have to have
Yes.
materials
Yeah.
to build things, to make
Yeah.
jewelry. But these aren't raw, rough materials. These are rare, expensive materials that
Yeah.
so you're tying up a lot of capital with that.
Oh, yes. And cash flow. Cash flow is the big problem.
Cash, yeah.
So this is an added challenge, we would say. Um, the thing is that I don't do quantities because I do limited editions and special editions, and I'm trying to really bring back the craftsmanship and what is luxury, the true luxury, and what we call it. And what is actually happening now in the luxury business is that the luxury business is facing some challenges because they've over increased their prices, post COVID. And actually, they uh, moved out some craftsmanship in some Asian countries. And so the luxury sector is really in the movement now. So it's very interesting. And small brands like mine, it's an opportunity for us to really differentiate ourselves. So we don't have the big economy of scales that they have, but we have our creativity. We love challenges. And I think, as I told you, it's all about passion and having faith and resilience to always try to find solutions. And I'm very lucky because the atelier that is in France is always it's like small, ateliers where we all do hand craftsmanships, and it's like a really human, the relationship we have are very human, so we help each other. We kind of try to build the best for our clients, and our
Yeah,
clients really understand that, and they're looking for that.
yeah, and so one of the big challenges you had as well was you you really were building a brand, because these luxury items, they're based on the brand. The brand is
Exactly.
the product in many cases. So you
Exactly.
had to get out there, you had to get your jewelry out there, but you
Yeah.
had these inventory, let's call constraints. You couldn't put
Yeah.
early on millions and millions of dollars into bars of gold, say, for chains.
I
So
didn't have that.
how did you balance that? Were you
uh,
making just a couple pieces and then selling them almost
yes.
on your own
So
manually?
no. Yeah, no, exactly. So the business started just before COVID. So
Mhm.
that was, I don't know if it was the best time or the worst time, but whatever, it was what it was. So we started in 2018. And it started amazingly because I did a few samples. And as I was responsible for developing very famous brand, in Russia, in the Middle East, I had such a big network of retailers. So that was very interesting for me. And I started amazingly with pre-orders from the retailers, exhibiting my brand, in big fairs in Switzerland. And so it went amazingly. And then I was doing trunk show locally, it was great. And then unfortunately, COVID happened. And I think I was a little naive, as I told you, because I started this business with very few investment. When you look at it, it's ridiculous compared to the cost of gold, diamonds, and stones. Um, and then, but it started amazingly. And then COVID happened. And then when you cannot travel, go see your retailers in Dubai or in Russia or in Turkmenistan, or it just stops. People don't know how to sell your brands because they're used to sell Cartier, they're used to sell Van Cleef and Arpels. You come out of nowhere. And I had big expensive pieces, like it was starting from $6,000 up to $20,000. So without brand awareness, I had no brand awareness. the website, I mean, it was not really before COVID, e-commerce was not so, developed.
Mhm.
So, um, so it was quite a challenge. But what I navigated along the way, I would say that way, And if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be flexible, you need to be resourceful, and you need to always try to find solutions, I would say. So, and I believe if it's for you, you will continue where whatever challenges you will face, And of course, I doubt myself so many times and was like, oh my God, I need to stop. I don't know. Everything is stopped. And then I said, no, 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 no. I love so much what I do. And I have something to bring on the table to this sector. And I continue in it allowed me to create smaller pieces um, and luckily I had my family helping me, my parents helped me, so to go through this because it was I mean, from one day to another everything stopped, so I created smaller collections that then I decided to put online.
Mhm. Yeah, and when you talk about tough economic times, there really wasn't anything like COVID. There's always, good times and bad times.
Yes,
Luxury brands do tend to do pretty good through tough
yes,
times because, you've got people
of
with
course.
a lot of money that aren't impacted as much. So
Never.
I always think of
Mhm.
Ferrari, right? Like if somebody wants a
Yeah,
Ferrari, they can
no,
do that.
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah.
matter if it's good or bad times.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. The luxury is usually the less impacted or the latest, which is
Mhm,
impacted, and then it recovers way quicker than the other sector.
mhm.
Unfortunately, I don't have the brand awareness of Chanel, for example. So, of course, people like me, and I was talking to um, my lapidaire, we call it in French, is the person who cuts the stones. And I was telling him, and he cuts the stone for all those big brands. And he told me, all the small jewelers like you, it's been so tough because you're making such a beautiful craftsmanship, but it's so hard for you to recover because you don't have this strength, as brand awareness. And as we know, now e-commerce can help us bring and build brand awareness way faster and less expensive. But those big brands have 100 years behind them, or 80
Yeah.
years behind them. So we don't play in the same ground, in a way or another.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to compete with a brand that's been going strong for 100 years.
Exactly.
Um,
But
but
this is
but
not the purpose as well.
yeah, yeah, as you grow your brand, as you get more and more brand awareness, I think, and you can tell me if this worked out that way for you,
Yeah,
using e-commerce makes it then easy there's fewer people that know your brand, but they can very easily find it and buy it now.
absolutely.
They don't have to go to a retail shop that you may not have the reach to get into all the mall
Absolutely. And
stores.
I will tell you, so what I did after COVID actually is that I closed some retailers because, and especially here in the United States, retailers take on consignment. Oh, I'm sorry. Take on consignment. So as a brand, you have to support, the stock. You give them big commission because they don't know you. So it's like for a small business like me, when it's moving, it's fine. But in terms of crisis, you cannot have a stock, laying down in a boutique where people unfortunately don't know how to sell your brands. You have to train them. You have to be behind them. So this is why e-commerce is such a big opportunity for small businesses, for creative people, for people who are passionate and have few resources and and are hardworking people and want to get out there.
Yeah, and so your website, is it a Shopify website or what is your website built on?
No, so I'm going to change into Shopify because today I was badly, I don't know if it's badly, but for me it doesn't work. I use Squarespace today, and the
Mhm.
problem it's not international. So in terms of link with Google Shop and stuff like that, so I will change to Shopify. We're in the process of doing it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good example of when we talk about e-commerce and the challenges that you face there. It's really a whole new set of challenges from just running a business. So The
completely.
platform you use to sell on is one of
Yes.
them. What other challenges have you found in e-commerce and ways to overcome them?
So e-commerce, I'm actually facing them now because I'm really moving forward and more into that. I would say, I studied hospitality management and marketing and all of that. There was no social media. There was no, everything was done through magazines. And even when I worked for the very famous brands, we were doing PR, public relations through magazines, events, and all of that. We had no clue about social media. And especially here in the United States is so much more developed than the rest of the world, When I left Dubai, there was not even like Instagram was just starting and online shopping was nothing, And we're talking about 6 years ago or 7 years ago, which is nothing, It's just not a long time ago. So it's about relearning how you do marketing, being even more creative, about doing videos. And I'm going on TikTok now, trying to see which music, to put and all of that. So it's fun in a way, but it's a lot of work, which is fine. But it's a whole dimension. And the big challenge is that you need so much content, because sometimes people are and we all do that. You scroll, you scroll, you scroll. And at the end, sometimes you don't even pay attention on what you're looking at. It's just a habit, but you still need to keep, adding the content to be in the algorithms. So it's very challenging, it's very demanding and time consuming and energy consuming, but with time, it grows and it's going to bring something out, I'm sure.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, you have to adapt, and these technologies, social media, it's constantly changing, and so
Yes,
you do have to constantly learn new things. Some of the
yes.
fundamentals of marketing and advertising are still there within it, but it's the technology has to be learned as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why we want to really be at Benedicte de Boysson. We want to be really focusing on tech. This is something I want to really include, with everything that is moving with AI and AR and all of that. This is something, a path that I want to take. And this is a lesson because when you're an entrepreneur, you learn the lessons of your failures, we would say, which are not failures, they're just lessons to improve, from COVID, because I was not ready. I was putting aside the e-commerce and all of that because, coming from luxury and big brands, I was like, no, I don't need that. But yes, I do need it. So this is why we're going to take this path even more.
Yeah, well, the COVID part, you said you weren't ready, but nobody was ready for that
Yes.
one. So, but it
That's
did,
true.
it did change how we do business really forever, probably because
Yes,
the
probably. It was an accelerator, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Okay, any other tips or tools that you're using for e-commerce? For example, we said you're moving from Squarespace to Shopify. That's a good example. You're using TikTok.
We're
Um,
starting now because luxury is still very small on TikTok.
mhm.
So we want to try to do TikTok shop because TikTok is big. So this is our new challenge, yeah, or
Yeah,
experience, I would say, adventure.
yeah.
It's TikTok, yeah, it's TikTok, and we'll see in the future what we do with AI and AR. It's in the pipeline, but I don't know when we're going to do that.
Yeah, and I'd love to get your opinion too. There are luxury brands also going into e-commerce marketplaces that were not traditionally places that I think the luxury brands didn't respect these marketplaces, and the customers didn't expect them to be there. But I read a lot about that changing. So things like Amazon and Walmart.com, you wouldn't think luxury Cartier or something like that, but there are some brands
Yeah.
going to that. What are your thoughts on that?
This is something that we're going to be learning, to be honest, because I cannot say no. My opinion is that for me, Amazon is not really a marketplace that I
Yes,
would.
I saw you cringe when I say Amazon.
Yes,
I can imagine what
but
you
I know they want to try to infiltrate this
want to
market
sell
because there's
everything.
been advertising and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, you have some big retailers online like Moda Operandi or Net-a-Porter, which are really big and they've been doing quite well. I was on First Dips before. You know, it's an antique and jewelry platform.
Mhm.
The Real contacting me, but they didn't want to put my brand, so I said no. But so those platforms are, you know, they were labeled luxury or antiques or
Mhm.
exclusive or art. And I think now it's a very good question because for me, being in the luxury business, I would go more with TikTok now because
Mhm.
TikTok, you give an experience. You know, you put a music, you put a text, you can do a video, you can do something. So luxury is all about experience. Nobody needs a 2,000 or 5,000 or $10,000 necklace, you know. It's all about the experience you're going to bring to the client, and the client is going to be appreciating, you know, how you welcome him, how you know, it's a hospitality. Hospitality is the same, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, on Amazon, they don't give this tool. It's just you go on it, you see an image, and then you click and you buy, you know. Whereas TikTok, you can really have you have an influencer that you need to contact. Of course, this is where we're still looking at who is going to be the right influencer to showcase, you know, Benedicte de Boysson. But then you can bring an experience. You can talk about who you are, you know. And this is what makes it interesting. It's like Instagram, you know. But I think TikTok has a playfulness that Instagram doesn't have.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And I wonder about if Amazon, as an example, or a very large marketplace can overcome that, or if they may go the route of adding an additional brand that may
Yeah.
not even say Amazon, but or Amazon Lux or something that is a totally different experience, but they can leverage all of their technology to bring in these brands and create a different experience that would be, you know, more expensive and maybe more personal somehow. We
No,
don't
of
know.
course. We don't know. And especially the luxury market is a big market, you know, and the US is one of the first, especially for the jewelry, is the first market in the world. And this is why it's so challenging and so competitive. China hasn't overcome the US. So it's still a very good market. You know, it's the American dream, as we call it, right? But
Yeah.
until you make it there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay. So we covered some business stuff and some e-commerce topics. What it sounds like you're as far as the future goes, because e-commerce is growing very quickly. I always mention that it's about $6 trillion a year, going to $8 trillion.
Yes.
It's about 20% of all retail transactions are online. So that has a lot of room to grow too. Do you have any other plans? It sounds like mostly for the future, just keep learning
Yeah.
more, embracing and
Yes,
finding.
and we want to, what my vision is for the brand is to really keep the traditional as well. So I
Mhm.
would like to have a showroom, you know, where it's not a boutique. I don't want a boutique, like I don't want a regular one. I'd rather give an experience, a private experience where you take by appointment, you know, to visit the showroom. I
Mhm.
don't know yet the location, but I'll inform you at one point. But this is the combination, you know, of the tradition of the luxury market, the craftsmanship, everything is handmade, and but using also the modernity of the technology. And I think this is the combination, and having a balance in the two is good. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think back to when, you know, Kindle for books, when that came
Yes.
out, and many people said, "Oh, no, I have to have the book in my hand. I have to feel it. I have to read
Yeah. And it's
the
still true.
jacket and all that." So I like the idea of having the option.
Yeah.
Um, you know, because some of these things people do want to touch and feel and see it sparkle and put
Of
on and
course,
see how
of
it looks.
course, of course. And you know, in the luxury, we have kind of a way of welcoming people. So when you have people who come to the boutique and they like those experience, and especially now, you know, luxury is also facing that. Is that I was talking to a friend of mine who works for a very big brand, and she was telling me, you know what, we don't even welcome people with a glass of champagne or even a bottle of water now, because they're reducing the prices or the cost or whatever. And I'm like, this is not luxury, you know. It's like hospitality we talk, you know. There is a way of welcoming people and giving experience to people. So you can never be able to give a glass of champagne through TikTok to people. So to really allow people to come and meet you, and you know, and this is why I always say we have to come back to some basis as well, you know, some human relationship as well. And this is, I said, you know, because people said, oh, but you can sell your brand one day. I said, this is not my purpose. My purpose is to do what I love, you know, is to enjoy, to meet my client. I'm inspired by them. They inspire me. I inspire them. And this is a nice exchange, you know. And it's not, the purpose is not to have 100 and 200 boutiques. No, it's to really keep it small, but beautiful.
Yeah, true. And it is amazing, though, how technology has this demographics component too, where it seems like the younger people are, the less insistence they have on that physical experience. Because there are many, many things that people said, well, nobody's ever going to buy that online, but some people will just do it. So I believe that in business, there's going to be some people that want what you have online, let them have it. And some people that want to come and touch it,
absolutely,
help them with that.
Absolutely. And I think the Z generation, so the young people, is going to be representing 40% of the future of luxury in terms of sales. And those people, what they do, they watch TikTok.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to not forget everybody, and especially that my brand is really from, I had a young lady the other day buying me a small necklace, and she was 22 years old. So it really, and you know, I have a woman, she bought the same necklace, exactly. She was 75. So I'm like, this is so amazing because it brings people together, you know, and so, you know, the 75 years old, she'll probably appreciate more to go to the showroom. And the 22nd too, she will go to TikTok, but she can also come to the showroom, you know, when she's going to be growing up, or I don't know, you know, but I think you shouldn't close your possibilities. Yes.
Yeah, well, that speaks something to your designs as well, that it can cross that kind of a age
Yes.
gap and have the same universal appeal.
Yes. No, I'm very proud.
That's impressive.
It's very nice, you know, when it happens.
Yeah, that would be. Okay, well, I think that's great. We covered a lot of ground there, a lot of good insights, and we're talking about stuff that anyone that is listening is absolutely going to want to see somewhere. So why don't you tell any of our listeners how they can find out more about where you are, where your jewelry is, and maybe even reach out to you if they want to say hi.
Of course, of course. So you can go to my website, benedictedeboysson.com, which is written in my name, just right there, or I don't know, because it's very French, as you can see. Or you can find me on TikTok at Benedicte de Boysson, or Instagram at Benedicte de Boysson. And I always reply personally to all messages I receive, and it would be my pleasure.
All right. Well, with that, I think we can wrap it up for today. So Benedicte, thank you very much for joining and sharing your insights.
Thank you very much, Joe, for inviting me and letting me speak out.
It was my pleasure. And thanks to everyone watching as well. And we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Focal Insights Podcast. If you like this episode, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can be alerted of new episodes. See you next time.